Hello YouTubes, this is Grimweird coming back at you with another episode of Enigmatica 2 Expert Mod Pack playthrough action for Minecraft 1.12.2. As always, we are joined by our lovely avatar, Zombie Steve, and I put some wings on his angel ring to match his dragon armor, dragon scale armor, not the draconic stuff. Just for kicks and giggles. So basically, right at the moment, I am killing time. So in last episode, we made this compact machine, so a little pocket dimension, 13 by 13 by 13. And one of the things I want to put in it is my IC2 nuclear reactor. However, I want to let it finish off its fuel rods, and it's got maybe 20-30 minutes left on its fuel rods. Before I extract them and process them for plutonium. So I was looking around and seeing what else I could do, and I noticed that I could easily make, not easily, but I could make the draconic core necessary to open this. And then I got sort of excited, and I probably should have done this on camera, but I went ahead and had a draconium ingot and could make a wyvern energy core, and so I just did a couple more things. And one of the rewards, it was our usual, fish and chips and that kind of stuff for rewards from the loot chest. But I got a resonant exchanger, and I'm not familiar with exchangers, but I have been looking for toys, especially building toys, since now that I've sort of got a handle on the tech and most of these mods, I want to start, also paying attention to aesthetics and making the base look nice. And so I watched a spotlight on this, and it basically, there's a whole series of them. If we look at exchangers, so there's vanilla ones that have durability, so you can make your usual wooden, stone, gold, iron, diamond, emerald, etc. Ones, and those run on durability, so you can use them an X amount of times. And basically, what they do is they'll exchange some blocks in the world with blocks from your inventory. But they're sort of expensive to build, and etc. Most of them, basically, once you're into ender pearls, you're fine to make a lot of these. But then they also have them for that go through the various tiers of either. So this one has, hardened, reinforced, signalum, resonant. So those are the tiers of thermal expansion. Over here we've got basic, advanced, elite, and ultimate, which are the tiers of mechanism. And you got like LV, MV, and HV, which are the tiers of immersive engineering. So you can make those, and the nice thing about any of those is that they are rechargeable instead of having durability. So the one I got was a resonant exchanger, and its max thing is a 15 by 15 area. And you can change it through modes. So if I go here, I had to bind the keys, so you'll have to go into escape. If you make one of these, go into escape, options, controls, exchanger. Yeah, so you have to set something up for mode switching and range switching. But once you do that, you can switch 1 through 3, 1 to 1, 3 to 3, 7 to 7, 9 to 9, 11 to 11, 13 by 13, and 15 by 15. So you can go through all the different modes there for the max exchange. And then also you can do horizontal columns, vertical columns, or plane. And I just have it set on plane. So the better builder ones were great for just mapping out this whole thing, just slapping down a whole bunch of these laboratory blocks to make the walls and ceilings and floor. But then when I went to do these, I just sort of did it the old-fashioned way. I just used my hammer and knocked out these blocks in the wall so that I could set up our cryothium water features, and then I replaced them with enlightened fused quartz. Well, one of the things that could have helped me with that would be doing, like, say, the column. I could have set it to a column, a 15 tall column, and then just replaced the laboratory blocks with enlightened fused quartz. So that's the kind of stuff you could do here. I played with it a bit here. You can see I've knocked out more space here, and this used to all be stone. So I tried this out and exchanged stuff from stone to stone bricks. And now, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and it's not. I haven't exactly figured out the trick to setting up what you're exchanging to, but it seems to work if you set a block there and then shift so it turns green, and then right click. And now I should be able to, you can see my inventory is full of those laboratory blocks, and I should be able to just right click and boom. Right click, boom. So quick and easy. I am swapping out the floor. And so far, this hasn't really caused any problems for me. Here we're running into a little bit of weirdness. Getting into nooks and crannies. But other than that, this seems to sort of kick a lot of ass. I like it. But here's an interesting test. So will it disturb the redstone if I go through here? No, it does not. So pretty darn cool. And of course we could also be doing the walls. So let's go ahead and try that out. Oh, and I am out of blocks. So it acts like it's mining the blocks. So you can see here I now have 2 cobblestone in there. So I must have erased a couple of, or exchanged a couple of stone and got cobblestone put in my place. So that's one thing to think about. But yeah, that is pretty darn cool, I think. So I will definitely be looking for this mod in the future for quick conversions. So now I can just put all that in there, grab some more of these, and I'm almost out, but we can at least finish up a little bit more room here, like this stuff. Whoa, okay. Helps if you actually switch back to the exchanger. So yeah, pretty darn handy. I dig it. I don't necessarily want to exchange with the stuff on the back side of this wall, but I could always do that manually. Could change out these two though. So yeah, pretty darn cool thing. I like it a lot. And That's going to make renovating the base much easier. How many blocks do I have? That's about all the blocks I have, so that's about all I'm going to do for now, but pretty darn cool. So I wanted to show that off in case there are people who have not used it. And it's not using too much power. I think at the lower level ones they have, because this thing has 20 million RF. It actually, I wondered why it took so long, so I stepped over here on the charge pad, and I thought it was just charging slow. I didn't really pay too much attention. 20 million RF, well, okay, that's why it was charging so slow. But then out of curiosity, I think you could also, if this is a thermal expansion one, you might be able to, yeah, enchant it with holding 4, which would give it 60 million RF. I'm not going to do that. But so that's another cool thing. So even if you do end up making one of the vanilla ones, like I think the stone one is a pretty good deal. If we take a look at that recipe, the stone exchanger. Now it only does a 3x3 range, but then again it only costs, well, I guess in this expert mod pack it's cost a couple of eyes of ender, and then this will cost a pearl, so they do cost quite a bit. Oh yeah, I think these are normally just ender pearls instead of eyes of ender. So they may have adjusted the recipe in this mod pack, this expert mod pack. But where I was going with this is that you can go ahead and I think enchant these with things like Unbreaking 3, the ones with durability. So that's another thing to think about. All right, so that's enough of playing with that for the moment. But yeah, we've sort of reached a point where I'm thinking about endgame and thinking about what it's going to take to actually close out all the rest of these quest books. Now, obviously, things like Draconic Evolution and Avaritia are all about super powerful armor and super powerful this and super powerful that. I'm already immortal and can't be damaged, except for possibly the Chaos Dragon, and have a laser gun that can shoot like 30-40 points of damage per tick through walls. And I mean, how much more powerful do I need to be? So I do sort of want to finish this out, but I'm also thinking it's like, where's my motivation? So just to try and complete this bad boy, what I'm going to start doing is trying to just bust out all of these things that we skipped. And I don't even know if I'll set them up. Like, I'm not going to set up a water wheel right now. But what I can do is I can craft all this stuff and close out these chapters. And so I think in my spare time, I'm going to try and bust through a lot of the stuff for the tech things and just try to finish out a lot of these tech chapters. And in the meantime, then we can concentrate on Thaumcraft, Botania, and Astral Sorcery and start working on those, because we haven't gone very far into any of the magic ones. But when we get into Draconic Evolution and Avaritia and some of the true endgame stuff, I start needing some of those magic things. So I think that's the future of this playthrough, is going back and cleaning up all of the lower tier tech stuff. Maybe getting some industrial craft UU matter moving. Making plutonium so that we have that through industrial craft. And then sort of just limping along through these guys. So like for instance this, I think I can make this stuff right now. I got 3 draconic cores from breaking into this. But if we take a look at what are those things called again? Basic energy stuff. So let's go at draconic, basic. All right. Let's see what of this we can make. If we go here, I can do that. And did we get an update? No, not yet. And then I think I can make 2 of these, but that'll put me out of draconic cores. Then I can make that and that. Now that should, I think, yeah, basic power transfer. So that's that out of the way. That gets us to this. I should be able to do all that. So that was, what was that? Some sort of wrench. Should pay closer attention. Crystal binder. Crystal binder. I don't think I have a laser wrench. So we can make one of those real quick. Maybe. Darn it. See if I have advanced coil taut. I might. No. I do have this taut though, so let's make 4 of those. And I don't have enough aluminum wires, so let's make 1 of those. So we only need 1 right at the moment. And we'll also need gold cable. Do I have that taut? Yes. So we'll make a little bit of that. Cobalt ingot, I think we have. Blaze rod, I think we have. So now we need to make this thing, if we have our bits yet, and we don't. Waiting on gold cable. I need to speed up the metal former. There it is. All right. Let's try this again. There's that, and then there's that. Let's open this loot chest. Ooh, a resonant conversion kit. That is handy. And what else do we get? Claim. Chicken curry. Alright, can we get any further? No, we do not have enough draconic cores to get into that stuff quite yet. Or that stuff quite yet. I need to get more plutonium. I've got most of this stuff, but I need more draconic cores and wyvern cores and cores and cores and cores. So we need to get that plutonium going again. Or, continue building up plutonium. So this is probably as far as we'll go with draconic evolution for now, until I've got a steady stream of plutonium coming in. I think after this extraction of my IC2 nuclear reactor, I'll have enough to switch from uranium fuel to MOX fuel, and then I'll be producing more plutonium faster. And I need to search for, I think the setup that I have in my reactor is probably best for power generation, and I may be able to, since I don't need it for power generation, I might be able to find a way to maximize for depletion of the core. Alright, so we still have, I don't know, 10-20 minutes left on our fuel rods. But I might be able to change this all so that maybe it burns hotter, maybe it depletes faster. So I'll have to research that. But I think when that finishes, we'll be able to switch from uranium to MOX fuel, and maybe that'll get us more plutonium faster and let us get into more draconic evolution. So yeah, I'm going to go back and do old stuff for a while. Let's see. So we've got all of the tech mods unlocked, so that makes me happy. So I've got a lot of time today, so I think I'm just gonna, off camera, bust through things. We're sort of stopped here for TerraSteel, so I need to work on Botania before we do that. So then if we go to industrial craft, I could do this now, so off camera I will bust out that and this. So we are going to be done with ice industrial craft after today's episode. I could probably, I'm pretty sure I can make all of this stuff, or most of this stuff. I have so many resources now that I should be able to make most of this stuff. It's just a matter of taking the time to do it. So we probably can close out forestry and what I'll do is I'll just jump cut, try and bang out as many of these gates as I can, and then come back and show you how far we made it at the end of the episode. I don't think I'm going to use any of this stuff, but we can try and bust it out and see what we get. So I think I can probably make all of the immersive engineering stuff, Thaumcraft, astral sorcery. Those we need to actually work on our magic a bit. Extra utilities, I can probably bang through most of this extra utilities stuff now. Mechanism, should be able to finish all this off. Might take some time though. Actually additions, I could probably, it'll take some time working through the whole canola thing, but should be able to finish most of that off. Industrial foregoing, I don't think there's anything that's going to be holding us back here. Botania and blood magic, we need to work on our magic a lot more before we close out the magic trees. RF tools. Now here's one that we, now we're starting to get up into the high enough level where it's going to take some serious work to get stuff done. I'd love to play around with dimensions. I don't think I can quite do that yet. I forget what I need, but I think I need some infinity stuff or draconic evolution stuff. But I'll review that, take a look at this, and see if we can get it into dimensions, and maybe work on some of this this stuff down here for just the teleportation if I have time. Nuclear craft, we can probably make a good share of this, except for the stuff that requires lots of weird salts and stuff. But if it just requires various platings and things, we could probably make a lot of nuclear craft. Thermal expansion, could probably make our way through most of this now. Advanced rocketry, that's going to require some effort, so that's going to be still off in the future. Mostly just because it's totally foreign to me, and you got to make all these multi-block structures, and I don't have enough titanium on hand to really get very far, and I don't have I don't have auto settings left on it, so advanced rocketry is still sort of a main one that's going to take a lot of time. Solar arrays, I don't plan on setting up a solar array, but I did make the tier 1, 2, and 3, and I should have enough to make the 4 and 5 at least. The tier 6 stuff, I think I have the stuff for it. I'm just not going to use it, but I might try and make it just to finish out the environmental tech chapter. There's lots of stuff here to make. I don't know if I have enough frames, so it might take me a while to get through all of this stuff. But yeah, I think we're approaching the end. The basic things that are going to take a lot of time now are going to be draconic evolution, and of course there's all this bragging rights stuff, advanced rocketry, and then all of the magic. But for the other tech, for most of the tech stuff, we are nearing the end, so that is cool. And sorry for just babbling and going on like that, but I am just sort of killing time until my nuclear reactor gets done and I can have some more plutonium. So for now, I think what I'll do is go ahead and jump cut, and I'll spend the next hour or so just banging through as many gates as I can, and I'll collect up a bunch of loot crates and we can open them together. Just a huge chunk of loot crates. Hopefully I'll have like 15, 20 loot crates for us to open up, and we can take a look at that at the end of this episode. So I will be back shortly. Okay, and I am back, and I did make a fairly big dent in our quest book. Ran into a few things that are going to take some doing. Like for instance, to close out forestry, we need to make an apiarist suit out of woven silk, which requires us finding tropical bees and doing that kind of stuff. So that's something on the horizon. But my nuclear reactor finally wound down, and I got my depleted fuel rods out, and it's just going to take forever to get the kind of plutonium I'm looking to make. So what I've done is I moped for a moment and then realized that I just wasn't thinking like an expert. And that was the whole point of me playing this mod pack, was forcing myself to learn a lot and start thinking in bigger terms and more efficient. So if you're not happy with production, what do? Well, you make more machines, you auto-craft the crap out of everything, and then you automate production. So that's what we're going to do. And so I set up some auto-crafting recipes and made a lot of fuel rods. And if we take a look at how this pencils out math-wise, basically the two main fuel types that we're worried about for making plutonium are going to be the uranium one, which has a durability of 20,000, and each one of these single fuel rods that you deplete gives you one tiny clump of plutonium. And then the other one is MOX, which also, first of all, it takes 3 plutonium, so that's 27 tiny clumps, because they work like blocks, if I recall correctly. Yeah, they do. So it takes that, but you still only get one tiny clump out. But the real thing here is that the durability is different. So here you'll get a tiny clump out of a uranium fuel rod every 20,000 durability, and here you'll get a tiny clump out of a MOX fuel rod every 10,000 durability. So you'll get it twice as fast going through MOX. However, you have to have an initial investment in plutonium to actually make the MOX fuel. So if we look at the fuel, you have to have plutonium to make it, or plutonium used it to turn into plutonium. But here's where things get interesting. So if we look at plutonium, so you can see here we've got, let's just mentally turn this all into tiny clumps, since that's the currency of one fuel rod gives you one tiny clump. So here we've got 27 plutonium, here we've got 27 plutonium, here we've got 3 plutonium, which 3 tiny piles make 9 plutonium. So here we actually get enough for, with 3 tiny piles of plutonium, we get enough for 3 fuels, 3 MOX fuels. And so with this recipe, we actually are tripling our tiny piles of plutonium, and we're getting 1 for 1. So that was the first bit. It's like, okay, so if I take my uranium ones and I get plutonium out, and then I change everything to plutonium, then I should have enough to switch over to MOX. So that makes this recipe here very important. And this is, empowered Palace crystal, cyanite blocks, mana infused. I've got all this stuff. So this is basically going to be my tripling of tiny piles. So that was the first revelation. It's like, aha, you just got to find the right recipes to work the system. And then the second one was, hey, I could just make a lot more nuclear reactors, because why not? And so that's the other thing I did. And I could also automate them going through so that I can go play with bees for an episode or two and then come back and be pleasantly surprised when, hey, wow, I've got a ton of plutonium. So that's the other thing. And then also, I knew that probably the reactor that I had set up originally was probably optimized for power output and not for plutonium production. So that's the other thing, was that I Googled, how to maximize plutonium production coming out. So those are the 3 changes: mass produce and automate, use the right recipes, and then make sure that you've optimized for what you want. So let's take a look at what I'm doing. So I've got a bunch of fuel here, and I think I'm about ready to kick this party off. So the other thing we wanted to do is we made our monster compact machines thing. So here we have the 13 by 13 thing that we made. Was that last episode? I think so. And if we right click on it, we can see, hey, look at that. There's nuclear reactor tower in there. Cool. And I'm going to get in the habit of right clicking this bad boy before I go into it, just in case it's a nuclear wasteland if things blow up. But let's go on in and see what's going on. So what I've got here is this little three-dimensional plus sign here is 1 nuclear reactor. So that's 3 reactor chambers. Sorry, that's a total of 6 reactor chambers, 1 on each cube face of the nuclear reactor that's in the center. So that's 1, 2, oops. Come on, fly, you can do it. Sorry, my space key is not the best. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for the automation, this isn't going to be fully automated because I'm not going to hook it up to my ME system. Piping ME into here is going to be more pain than it's worth. I'd need to make some sort of cross-dimensional wireless thingy-maboober, and I just don't care that much. Especially since I'm pretty quickly going to ramp this up to make lots of plutonium, and so hopefully in a short order I will have all the plutonium I need. So what am I doing with this automation? Well, the thing is I want to install, you can see I have lots of fuel rods here. What I want to do is install them, and then when they're done, I want to automatically eject them and put in fresh ones. So I'm using the Ender item conduits because I can whitelist things. And I am probably admittedly whitelisting the crap out of this system just to avoid any accidents. So in other words, I've got insert and extract whitelists on all 5 of my interfaces here, which is I'm sure is overkill. However, better overkill than a nuclear wasteland in this tiny little pocket dimension that I have created. So for the box, I'm going to stuff in a bunch of full fuel rods, and I'm going to get out the depleted ones. So um, I'm inserting depleted fuel rods into the chest, and then I am extracting always active full durability fuel rods from the chest. And then for each of these, I am inserting the full ones, and I am extracting always active the depleted ones. So I think that's going to work, and I've got these all set up the same, I hope. And let's take a look at what I've got set up inside. So this is optimizing now. Instead of optimizing for power generation, since that's not what I'm looking for here, mostly what I want to do is I want to get as many fuel rods in there as possible. So you can get, if you play with the cooling, you can get 28 of them in there if you have slightly different arrangements. I'm going with a simple 27. So if we take a look at this, I want to make sure I get my two ones that have a little bit of durability hit on them in there first. And then we're going to fill up the rest. So what is this stuff in here? You'll see that I've only got 9 overclocked heat vents in there. I'm going to have 27 fuel rods. But then to make sure that the spacing doesn't get messed up by the insertion and extraction, I have to put reactor plating in all the empty spots. So the reactor plating isn't cooling, isn't transferring heat, isn't doing anything. The reactor plating is just there to take up space so that when I insert, like I just inserted that whole stack, they go to the right spot. And when I extract the spent ones, new ones only go into these 27 spots where the uranium fuel rods are. So that's our thing. We've got only 9 overclocked heat vents to cool the thing, if what I read in Google is true. We've got 27 uranium fuel rods, and after this whole load of uranium goes through, that will turn into 27 MOX fuel rods. And then we have, to take up the rest of the space, we have, how many was that? That was 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 16-ish reactor platings just to set the spacing for the insert and extract so that we don't mess up our stuff. Because if I was importing these and I got a situation like this, that's the kind of thing that could lead to this overheating and blowing up. And we don't want that. So that's all set in place, and just to test things, let's go ahead and turn this bad boy on and make sure that none of my fans are overheating. And they are not fluctuating at all, so that looks perfectly good. Now I'm only generating 540 EU per tick, so that's not a huge amount, but hey, I don't care. I'm not even going to output that power. I just don't care, because power's not what I'm after here. And we can see that we are ticking down in durability with the uranium fuel rods. And when our next batch of fuel rods beyond this, it'll be MOX, and they'll only have 10,000 durability, so they will tick down even faster. So that all looks good to go. Let's just double check and make sure we're all set up here. Spacing looks good, yes. Spacing looks good, yes. Spacing looks good, yes. Now we're going to test our automation here for our insert. So let's just go ahead and throw all that in and see what happens. Just going to give this a moment to stop clicking down. And it has stopped, so let's see what it did. First of all, nothing should happen here because it's all full. Yes. Everything should be inserted and spaced. Yes. And nothing is being pulled back out. Good. Everything is inserted and spaced right. Everything is inserted and spaced right. I'm going to turn this bad boy on and watch it a moment. Make sure nothing weird happens. 540 EU. Fans are all perfectly good. That's clicking down. This guy, let's go ahead and turn it on. Fans are all stable. Everything looks good. Turn this bad boy on. Fans are all stable. And probably these would be these heat vents, since they're surrounded by four. These two heat vents would probably be my bellwethers. If I saw any kind of downward momentum on these guys, I might be concerned. Everything looks good here. So I have used EU so little that I don't even know if, let's see, 540 times 4, so we got 2,000, 2160 EU per tick. I don't even know if that's the same as, what that means. I can try and port it out of here. One of the things I do want to do is check to see if my bags are all getting totally full. I want to check and see if the flux networks, this is technically a different dimension, but that's fine. I think the flux networks will beam power out of here just fine. So I want to get a flux plug, and I want to get some, I'm going to use mechanism cable because I know it will take EU and it will spit out RF or FE. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of this. And let's go ahead and wire this up and see if we can actually get power out, just for kicks and giggles, just for future knowledge. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and that doesn't seem to be attaching to that side there. So I might need to pull it out with some sort of HV cable and then run it into the tubes. See, I thought mechanism would handle this. Alright, you know what? Since I don't actually need the power coming out, I'm not going to worry about it. The other thing I could do is I could set up the flux plug. I could set up a new network that is EU. So currently I've got this bad boy, I've got two networks, one for RF and equivalence for banking stuff and one for spending stuff. I could set up a separate EU unit and make a plug that pulled EU out of all of this and moved it all in. I think for kicks and giggles what I'll do is just see if I can place this and see what happens. Because I knew I could place it. I don't know if it was converting. But yeah, it's talking to its network. And it says it's inputting into its internal buffer. So, maybe that's doing its thing. Yeah, looks like it's importing EU. And the network must be converting it. So if I wanted to, I could do all that. So that was basically all I really cared about checking, was just making sure that flux networks will go into and out of these compact machines, which it looks like it is. So one last check before I exit the area. Durability is ticking down. Fans are all in the green. We're good to go. So each of these has 27 fuel rods, which means that each of these will create 27 tiny piles of plutonium. 27 is 3 big plutonium. So I'm going to have 12 big plutonium. Or the other way to look at it is that each 3 that I get from here will make me be able to make a bunch of plutonium, and then the plutonium will make me a bunch of MOX fuel. I've got enough for, I think I've got enough for 3 rounds. The round that's in there, let's see, 27 times 4 is roughly 100 each. Yeah, so I got enough for 3 rounds of uranium. So that will be 108 tiny piles times 3. So 324 tiny piles of plutonium. Then I'll turn that, a good chunk of that, into plutonium. And then I'll make a bunch of MOX fuel and do the same thing. And that will get more plutonium for me in half the time of this setup. I think we're in business. And again, I think I just went from being all freaked out and annoyed because it was taking me forever to get plutonium to, I think, once I leave this alone for a few hours, I'm going to be swimming in plutonium. So, yay. And we used a compact machine, so if anything goes wrong in here, I think the blast should be contained to this 13 by 13. And I went ahead and stacked it, so we only used a little corner of it. So I could also bring in my fuel processing stuff here. I could bring in my armor stand and leave my hazmat suit here, so that I'm not carrying it around. I think I'm good to go. About the only thing that isn't full service in here is I could make a tunnel in the wall for moving power or items in and out if I wanted to. I could do some sort of, there are things that I'm not familiar with, advanced ME type things that allow you to do tunnels and I don't know, stuff. So I could get ME in here some way, I'm sure, if I tried. Or I could use just, take the items in and out through the wall and have the ME system interact on the outside of the wall. So there are ways that I could further automate this so that I never even had to come back in here. But I don't care that much because I think I'm going to be having tons of plutonium here very soon. Anyway, I'm going to click my personal shrinking device on the wall to get out. And there we go. That's an awful lot of plutonium that's going to be coming out of that little box. So we did a thing. That's good. And that's going to result in an awful lot of plutonium and remove that bottleneck from any further considerations. So I'm probably running over time, but let me find my quest book and let's talk a moment about the other thing I was going to do, which is clean up a lot of old business. So here I can't do Terra Steel until I work on Britannia and probably Thaumcraft as well. Here we're not quite into mystical agriculture and blood magic yet. I need to work more on these 3 magic functions. Industrial craft, we are just about done. In fact, I will very soon have the plutonium. And once again here, you can see that the plutonium option, we're talking about 3 tiny piles will make, well, essentially it's 1 tiny pile makes 1 plutonium ingot. So we're talking about, 3 tiny piles versus 3 full plutonium. So here's another case where sending your plutonium, tiny piles of plutonium through plutonium will, really up your yield of plutonium when you're making RTG fuel. So that we will have done shortly, and that will be the end of industrial craft. Forestry, I cleared all of this stuff out except for the apiarist's armor, which requires woven silk, which requires silk wisps, which requires silky whatchamajiggers, silky propolis, which comes from silky comb, which comes from tropical hives. Not sure why it says forest princesses there. Maybe you put forest bees in a tropical hive, because there are tropical bees too. Anyway, I'll have to read up on that. But we're going to have to head to, I think there's a bamboo forest that counts as tropical. We need someplace warm and wet to set up our beehives and to get our bees. But so that's going to actually take, probably a full episode just to get all that organized. Thaumcraft, astral sorcery, we got a long ways to go. We'll get back into the magic stuff shortly. Extra utilities, this is the next place for me to go. So I can clean out a bunch of this stuff. And so that's about where we're at, is I'm going to keep working through cleaning up all the dribs and drabs of leftover stuff that we hadn't done. And we're going to get some plutonium, and then we're going to eventually get back into magic. All right, that's probably enough for one episode. Yeah, things are going well. And also, while crafting is going on, or while I have some downtime, or while I'm being interrupted by cooking or people or phone calls, I'll continue to sort of chip away at decoration. I really like this scheme over here, so I want to try and propagate that through the base and organize things. And I got to think about where we're going to put all the stuff from Thaumcraft and Botania and all of the blood magic and astral sorcery, huge temples and yada yada. Another thing that makes me really happy about this is not only am I putting my potentially explosive nuclear reactors from Industrial Craft 2 into compact machines, but I think I can also throw any kind of flux production from Thaumcraft into there as well. So I don't have to worry about, getting any kind of, flux and taint and weird crap going on. So that's also going to make me very happy. I sort of have an instinctual reaction against Thaumcraft for, worrying about things like flux and taint and warp and yada yada. It all makes me a bit nervous. So having a different pocket dimension to do that stuff in will make me much more at ease. Sort of like setting up 4 nuclear reactors and wandering away. Alright, I'm babbling at this point. I'm going to call it an episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.